Gold in their pockets, dust in their hearts. They bought everything they wanted, still couldn't buy back what they lost. They came into town wearing polished boots, talking about money, talking about roots. They bought the ranch where my father worked, then paved the ground where his old house stood. They shook my hand like we were brothers, said nothing personal, it's just business. Funny how a man can purchase your history and still expect you to call him generous. They count their gold every night, but never count the people left behind. A pocket can be heavy as stone, while a man's heart turns lighter than dust. Gold in their pockets, dust in their hearts. They own the road beneath our feet, but they don't know where they are. Gold in their pockets, diamonds in their hands. They can buy the whole damn world, but they can't buy back a soul that's gone. I knew a man who sold his mother's farm, said he'd make his family rich and strong. He bought a house 3 states away, then stopped dancing when she called his name. He had a car worth more than a home, a table full of people and still ate alone. He said success is knowing what to keep. I wonder what he lost while counting sheep. They call it winning when the numbers rise, even when another family pays the price. Maybe the richest man in town is the one who still has someone when the money's gone. Yeah. Gold in the pocket, dust in the chest. Everybody wants more, nobody wants less. They measure a man by the size of his land, by the watch on his wrist, by the ring on his hand. But I seen rich men who couldn't sleep at night. I've seen poor men who still knew wrong from right. They buy another building, they buy another name, they buy another headline to make the past look clean. Money can buy silence, money can buy a throne, but when the room gets empty, you still gotta live alone. They can own the sunset, they can own the sky, but when the final road comes, gold won't tell them why. Gold in their pockets, dust in their hearts. They own the road beneath our feet, but they don't know where they are. Gold in their pockets, diamonds in their hands. They can buy the whole damn world, but they can't buy back a soul that's gone, 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 gone. I don't need their fortune, I don't need their name. I'd rather have an empty pocket than a heart that feels the same. Let them count their money, let them build their walls. A man who owns everything can still have nothing at all. disappears, only what you gave remains. Keep it gold, keep it throne. When the dust settles, you still answer for your own. We were the outlaws, now they call us law. We broke their gates to build our own walls. Carried names they tried to erase. We fought against the men with badges who ruled by fear and called it peace. We swore we'd never become them. We swore we'd never wear the crown. We promised every broken worker that we'd tear their old system down. Then power found our hands, and the room became our throne. The people who once feared the law started fearing us instead. When the outlaws become the law, who watches what they do? When the rebels hold the keys, do they remember why they fought? When the outlaws become the law, the crown can change a man. You can destroy the old prison and build another with your hands. Changed the names above the courthouse, changed the flags above the gate. The people cheered our victory, then waited for their lives to change. We promised justice for the poor, promised every voice would count. But power speaks a different language when the money starts to come around. The same men we once condemned now offered us their seats. We said we'd never take the places, then discovered how comfortable power feels. We fought the king, then took his chair, burned old rules and wrote our own there. We said the system was corrupt, then found out power pays enough. The people gave us their trust, we gave them speeches, then gave ourselves more. Same courthouse, different names, same hunger, different game. That's the oldest trick change. Who's standing at the door, then convince the people they don't need to ask anymore. We called ourselves freedom, we called ourselves justice. But if the people still fear us, what's really changed? A revolution isn't finished when the old ruler falls. It's finished when the people don't need to fear the new one. When the outlaws become the law, who watches what they do? When the rebels hold the keys, do they remember why they fought? When the outlaws become the law, the crown can change a man. You can destroy the old prison, then build another with your hands. I don't want the crown if it makes me deaf. I don't want the power if it costs me respect. If I once fought for freedom, I must defend it when I win. Otherwise, the man I hated is the man I've become within. become the law. Let the people hold the keys. Let the ones who wear the crown remember who they promised to serve. When the outlaws become the law, let power face the light. Because a rebel isn't righteous just because he wins the fight. Remember why we fought. Remember who we serve. Remember every broken door. Remember every word. Remember every word. When the outlaws become the law, the story doesn't end. The hardest fight begins when power calls you friend. When the outlaws become the law, don't become what you opposed. If freedom needs another master, then freedom has already lost. We broke their chains, we took their crown. Now we have one question: will we wear it or put it down? The church bell knows my name. It rings when the daylight dies. I left that town years ago, but it still knows all my life. I was 17 when I learned to run, young enough to fear what I'd become. Mama prayed beside an empty chair while I disappeared into the midnight air. Every Sunday that bell would ring, calling every sinner and every king. I never thought I knew my name, till every ring sounded just the same. The preacher said the past can be forgiven, the town said some men can't be. Funny how the righteous choose the sinners. They want the whole world to see. The church bell knows my name. It rings across the county line. It knows the roads I've taken. It knows the things I left behind. The church bell knows my name, but it never tells me I'm alone. Maybe every man has ghosts. Maybe every ghost knows home. There's a man who sits in the front row, clean white shirt, and the voice kept low. He talks about mercy every Sunday night, then turns his back when the poor need a light. He tells the town who should be ashamed while nobody asks about his own name. I seen him shake hands behind closed doors, then preach forgiveness from the pulpit floor. I know my sins, I carry them still. I don't need a sermon to tell me what I did, but if I'm counting every stain tonight, let every white collar stand beneath the light. The love a sinner they can point at. A broken man they can understand. Put his face inside the paper, give the town somebody to condemn. But respectable sins don't make less blood. A clean white collar ain't proof for good. You can quote every verse in the book, but the truth still sees what the mirror won't. They say the church is where the guilty go. Then why do the powerful sit in the front row? Maybe heaven doesn't care about the clothes. Maybe the bell rings for everybody it knows. I don't ask the bell to forgive. I don't ask the town to forget. I spend enough years running from a man I haven't met. The church bell knows my name. It rings across the county line. It knows the roads I've taken. It knows the things I left behind. The church bell knows my name, but it never tells me I'm alone. Maybe every man has ghosts. Maybe every ghost knows home. If mercy has a door, I won't ask who holds the key. If judgment has a price, don't make the poor pay it for free. I came back older with a heavier name. The bell was still ringing, but I was not the same. The church bell knows my name. The church bell knows my name. And tonight I let it ring. I can't erase the roads I walked, but I can change what tomorrow brings. The church bell knows my name. The church bell knows my name. Let the whole damn valley hear. I've carried every sin I've made, but I won't carry their fear. The bell keeps ringing, the night keeps turning. Maybe forgiveness isn't forgetting. Maybe it's finally facing what you're running from. What you're running from. Dust looks good on a broken man when he's got nothing left to hide. The world stopped asking where he's been, so he stopped explaining why. A crack from county roads. My jacket smells like smoke and rain. I lost a house, I lost a woman. I lost more than I can explain. The mirror doesn't recognize me. The bank don't care what I've been through. The town remembers every failure, but never remembers what I gave. They respect a man when he's standing tall. They forget his name when they watch him fall. Dust looks good on a broken man when the world has stripped him bare. He may have lost the things he owned, but there's still something standing there. Dust looks good on a broken man. Scars don't make him less alive. sign while rich men drove past in polished cars. Nobody asked if I was hungry, they just looked away from the scars. A former friend crossed the street, didn't want to know my name. Funny how people love your company until your trouble becomes contagious. I don't blame every hand that left. Some people have their own lives, but don't tell me broken men are worthless just because they don't photograph well. They love the winner, they praise the climb, they disappear when you lose your shine. They want the story after you make it, they don't want the years it took to survive it. A broken man makes people nervous, he reminds them life ain't always earned. They say he should've worked harder, maybe I should've, but some roads can last before you know they're broken. They judge the dust on another man's boots, never ask what road put the dust there. I don't need their pity, I don't need their praise. I've carried enough shame to know what it weighs. Find a reason to survive. I used to think a man's worth was measured by what he could keep. Now I know a man's worth is measured by what survives when he loses it. Let him keep their clean clothes, let them keep their perfect names. I'd rather wear the dust honestly than hide my scars behind the frame. Talks just looks good on a broken man, and I don't need to look brand new. I've lost almost everything I had, but I haven't lost myself. The dust ain't shame, the scars ain't shame. Falling ain't the end, staying down is a choice. Freedom written in fine print, that's what they never show. They put the word across the sky, then hide the price below. They told me I was born free, so I asked what freedom meant. They handed me a contract, then showed me where to sign it. I could choose where I could work, if I could afford to leave. I could own the house I wanted if the bank agreed. They said the road was open, but every road had a toll. They said the choice was mine and wrote the rules I couldn't control. The word is written boldly, the conditions written small. They advertise the freedom, then build the walls around it. Freedom written in fine print, a promise nobody reads. They tell you that the door is open, then charge you just to leave. Freedom written in fine print, with conditions underneath. They say you're free to choose your future, as long as you can afford the fee. Signed a loan for a little house, spent 20 years paying more. The contract said I owned it, but the bank still owned the door. I took a job because I needed money. They called it freedom of choice. Funny how choice gets very quiet when survival makes the decision. They said I could speak my mind as long as I knew the cost. They said I could challenge power as long as I could afford the loss. I don't want somebody else's freedom, I want the freedom they promised me. Not a word inside a contract, not a privilege for the wealthy. Fine print, small letters, big promises, hidden pressure. They sell you freedom by the headline. Read the bottom, you'll find the price line. You can choose your prison, choose your debt, choose your contract, choose your regret. They say nobody forced you, maybe that's technically true, but when every road costs money, tell me what choice belongs to you. They call it opportunity when the door has a fee. They call it independence when you're working just to breathe. Freedom ain't freedom, but the rules change for the rich. If the powerful write the contract, guess who gets to edit it? I don't need perfect freedom, I know every life has limits. Just don't sell me a cage and call the lock a privilege. Freedom written in fine print, a promise nobody reads. They tell you that the door is open, then charge you just to leave. Freedom written in fine print, with conditions underneath. They say you're free to choose your future, as long as you can afford the fee. Maybe freedom isn't having everything. Maybe freedom starts with knowing the truth. Show me every condition, then let me decide what I choose. Don't hide the chains beneath the carpet, don't paint the walls and call them skies. If the people know the rules, at least they know what they're fighting. Finally read the page. They've been keep their polished promises, I won't confuse them with my rights. Freedom written in fine print, still there's something they can't own. A man's ability ready to see the truth before he chooses where to go. They gave me the contract, I read every line. The first thing they hid was the price of being free. They call me a cowboy with a criminal smile. I shake your hand and study you a while. Don't judge the hat, don't trust the grin. You never know what kind of road I've been. Before the rain, black hat low, hiding half my name. The bartender asked where I'd been, and I smiled real slow and ordered whiskey again. I don't start trouble, I don't make a scene, I just know things that I'd rather keep unseen. There's a wanted poster hanging by the door, but the face ain't mine anymore. They trust a man when he speaks real nice, never ask what he did to earn that life. A clean-cut smile can hide a loaded gun, and a polished man can be the dangerous one. I'm a cowboy with a criminal smile, been walking these roads for a long, long while. They see the boots, they see the grin, they never ask where I've really been. I'm a cowboy with a criminal smile, I learned how to survive in style. If you want the truth, don't ask my name, ask what kind of man walks away from shame. Walks away from shame. The sheriff came in wearing polished boots, talking about law while hiding the truth. He knew my face, but he knew me well, so neither of us had a story to tell. He said, around here we respect good men. I looked at his badge and smiled again. Funny how respect changes shape when the right man can make a mistake disappear. They call me dangerous because I don't explain, but respectable men can do the same. They steal with contracts, lie with a smile, then call themselves honest all the while. I learned from the streets, I learned from the rain, I learned every favor always comes with a chain. You can hide your crimes behind a tailored suit, you can shake 10 hands and still be rotten to the roots. They want a villain with a face they can blame, but sometimes the worst man is the one with the cleanest name. I ain't saying I'm innocent, I ain't saying I'm proud, but don't call yourself righteous just because you fooled the crowd. I'm a cowboy with a criminal smile, been walking these roads for a long, long while. They see the boots, they see the grin, they never ask where I've really been. I'm a cowboy with a criminal smile, I learned how to survive in style. If you want the truth, don't ask my name, ask what kind of man walks away from shame. I got scars beneath this leather, stories buried underneath. Some I regret, some I keep. I don't need your forgiveness, I don't need your praise. I've survived enough men who hide behind respectable names. Judge the skin, but you can't know the war I've carried within. I'm a cowboy with a criminal smile. Maybe I'm guilty, maybe that's right, but the cleanest man in this whole damn town may be the one who's never been found out. So keep your judgment, keep your law. I've seen what respectable men are for. I'll ride before the morning light, leaving every clean lie behind. Drank to forget what they did, but the bottle never forgets. Every glass takes the edge away, never takes away the dead. There's a man sitting alone at the bar, staring down at a glass in his hand. He won't talk about the house he broke or the people who no longer understand. He says tomorrow he'll make things right, but tomorrow has heard that before. Another drink becomes another night, another promise disappears through the door. You can drown a memory, you can silence your mind, but guilt knows how to swim, and it always comes back alive. They drank to forget what they did, but the bottle knows their names. They drank until the room gets quiet, but the past still speaks the same. They drank to forget what they did, trying to wash away the blame. You can bury truth beneath the whiskey, but you can't make it disappear. I knew a man who cheated his friend and drank every night for years. He said the whiskey helped him sleep, but he woke up with the same old fear. Another man betrayed his brother, sold the land and kept the gold. Every Sunday he stood in church, every Monday drinking till he was cold. I don't judge a man for breaking down. I've had nights I can't defend, but there's a difference between regret and using regret to avoid the truth. They drank for the guilt, they drank for the shame, they drank so they don't have to say another person's name. They call it stress, they call it pain. Sometimes it's just a man trying to escape what he became. They raise a glass, they raise a prayer, then wake up and pretend the damage isn't there. You can hide behind a bottle, you can hide behind the night. You can tell yourself that everything will eventually be alright, but a debt ain't gone because you stopped counting. A wound ain't healed because you stopped looking. The bottle is in the courtroom, it can't declare you free. It only gives you darkness long enough to avoid what you see. They drink to forget what they did, but the bottle knows their names. They drink until the room gets quiet, but the past still speaks the same. They drink to forget what they did, trying to wash away the blame. You can bury truth beneath the whiskey, but you can't make it disappear. Maybe the first step is remembering. Maybe the truth has to hurt. Maybe you can't repair a broken life until you admit what you destroyed. I don't need another bottle, I don't need another excuse. If I broke something with my choices, then I have to face the truth. They drink to forget what they did, but tonight the glass stays down. Let the silence tell the story. They were too afraid to speak out loud. They drink to forget what they did, but I won't run from them. Some wounds can only start to heal when you stop hiding the light. The bottle never forgave me, it only helped me forget. And everything I tried to bury was waiting when I woke. They sail hope by the bottle, pour it cold and call it a relief. They know exactly where we're hurting, then charge us for a little peace. There's a bar beneath the neon light where broken men disappear at night. The bartender knows every man's name, but never asks what brought him through the rain. A paycheck gone before Friday comes, another empty chair, another loaded gun. They pour another glass and call it a cure, while the same old pain waits outside the door. They don't sell the bottle, they sell the moment after. A little less memory, a little less disaster. They sell hope by the bottle, they pour it deep and slow. They know we're trying to forget, and that's exactly what they know. They sell hope by the bottle, They don't have to heal the wound when they profit from the bleeding. I watched a man lose everything, his house, his wife, his wedding ring. He came in every night at 10, trying to become somebody else again. The owner knew he couldn't pay, still poured another glass anyway. He called it business, nothing more. Funny how business knows which wounds to keep sore. I won't pretend the bottle made my choices. I've got my own mistakes and my own voices. But when a town has nothing left to sell, it learns to make a market out of hell. They sell relief, they sell escape, they sell another hour you don't have to face. They put a neon sign above a broken door, then wonder why the broken keep coming back for more. They call it freedom, they call it choice, but desperation gets expensive when the desperate have no voice. A man needs a job, they give him a drink. A woman needs a future, they tell her not to think. They don't fix the hunger, they don't fix the pain. They just keep the bottles full and wait for the next paycheck. Maybe the bottle isn't the enemy, maybe it's the hand that keeps it full. Maybe a town that sells escape has forgotten what hope is supposed to do. They sell hope by the bottle, they pour it deep and slow. They know we're trying to forget, and that's exactly what they know. They sell hope by the bottle, put a price on borrowed peace. They don't have to heal the wound when they profit from the bleeding. I don't want another drink, I want another road. I don't want temporary silence, I want somewhere safe to go. Don't tell me to forget the pain, tell me why the pain exists. Don't sell me another bottle, and what I need is a way out of this. They sell hope by the bottle, but tonight I won't buy. Let the neon keep on burning, let the empty glasses dry. They sell hope by the bottle, but I finally understand. You can't drown a broken future, you can only lose another night. The bottle never promised tomorrow, it only borrowed tonight. And every borrowed hour eventually comes due. He's the king of a broken town, where the factories don't make a sound. He owns the land, he owns the store, and tells us we should thank him for the war. Shut down before the winter came. Half the town forgot the workers' names. He bought the building for $1 and a prayer, then told the people jobs were coming there. He put his picture beside the mayor's, called himself a friend of the town. Funny how a man becomes a savior after buying everything that fell down. He says, I'm keeping this town alive, but every year another family leaves. He calls the empty streets a sacrifice, while counting what the silence brings. He's the king of a broken town, wearing a crown nobody can see. He owns the ground beneath our feet, then calls it charity. He's the king of a broken town, tells us he's the reason we survive. Funny how a town can stay alive when nobody can afford to live. My neighbor worked there 30 years. Now he sits alone with unpaid bills. The king sent him a letter saying, thank you for your years of service. Then bought his house before the month was done, for less than what the old man spent. They called it unfortunate business. He called it another investment. The mayor stood beside him smiling, say we're building something new. Nobody asked the workers what the old town meant to them. He owns the jobs, he owns the land, he owns the people by the plans in his hand. To give a little takes a lot, calls himself generous for what he bought. They say he's saving us, they say he's strong. Funny how the savior was the reason things went wrong. A broken town doesn't need another king, it needs somebody willing to repair the thing. But kings don't fix what they can control, they build another wall around a dying soul. He says, trust me, I've been here all along. Maybe that's the problem, we've trusted him too long. He's the king of a broken town, wearing a crown nobody can see. He owns the ground beneath our feet, then calls it charity. He's the king of a broken town, tells us he's the reason we survive. Funny how a town can stay alive when nobody can afford to live. You can own the factory, you can own the street, you can own the courthouse, but you can't own the feet. The people, remember, who stayed when times were hard. A king can own the kingdom, but he can't own every heart. But the crown is made of dust. He built his throne from empty homes and called the damage trust. He's the king of a broken town, but every kingdom has an end. When the people stop believing, a king becomes a man again. The factory's quiet, the courthouse lights are low. The king still owns the town, but there's nobody left to rule. Nobody asked whose. The night keeps its secrets, like the rich keep their truth. That town before the sunrise came, with a worn-out truck and a borrowed name. Two headlights cutting through the dust, one road behind me, one thing left to trust. My brother said, run, don't turn around, but every secret leaves a mark on the ground. They called it justice when they took his home. Funny how justice always leaves the poor alone. I learned that loyalty comes with a price, and some men sell their brothers for a cleaner life. They shake your hand while they sharpen the knife, then call themselves honest when they steal your life. There's blood on the back road, red beneath the moon. Every dead comes calling, and it always comes too soon. There's blood on the back road, time marks in the rain. You can bury what you did, but you can't outrun the name. I remember that night by the county line, a black sky hanging over borrowed time. The sheriff knew more than he ever said, while a rich man's lawyer was counting his bread. I ain't saying I'm innocent, that's not my claim. I've carried my sins and I've carried my name, but the man who ordered it never saw a cell. He paid for his freedom and called it a deal. They say the law makes every man the same, but money can buy you a different kind of chain. One man gets buried beneath concrete and stone, another walks free because his money talks on the phone. Backroad dust on a pair of old boots, truth gets buried underneath tailor suits. They want my silence, they want my fear, but the louder they threaten, the clearer I hear. Everybody's brave when the weak can't fight, everybody's righteous under courthouse lights. They call me outlaw because I refuse to kneel, but tell me what makes a clean man steal? Maybe the badge ain't dirty by the way that it shines, maybe it's dirty from the hands behind the lines, maybe the devil don't live down below. Baby, he owns half the town and runs the show. I don't need forgiveness from men like them. I've seen what happens when you trust their pen. If justice is honest, let it walk this road. Let it carry the weight of every secret we know. There's blood on the back road, red beneath the moon. Every debt comes calling, and it always comes too soon. There's blood on the back road, time marks in the rain. You can bury what you did, but you can't outrun the name. My brother's gone, my town moved on. The courthouse stands like nothing went wrong. But every midnight, when the cold wind blows, the back road remembers what the town wanna know. Still knows every lie leaves a shadow, every shadow shows. There's blood on the back road, and I'm still riding through. I can't change what happened, but I can tell the truth. There's blood on the back road, let the whole town hear. Some men run from justice, some men by out of fear. The road never judged me, it only showed what I was. And every mile behind me still remembers because whiskey, dust, and bad decisions. That's all I carried down this road. 3 things that never asked forgiveness, 3 things that never let me go. With dust across my coat, another empty bottle by the door. I promised myself I'd change last night, then broke that promise before daylight. My old truck barely starts these days, but it still knows all my escape routes. Every road I've taken looks the same, just another place to lose my name. They tell me choose better, boy, like choices grow when money won't. Funny how advice comes easy from men who never missed a meal. Whiskey, dust, and bad decisions, 3 shadows riding next to me. I paid for every road I've taken, still some roads won't set me free. Whiskey, dust, and bad decisions, I won't blame the world for all I've done, but don't pretend the road was equal when some men started miles ahead. I lost a woman I should have kept, I lost a friend who trusted me. I said tomorrow way too many times, till tomorrow stopped believing me. The town called me a wasted man, the banker called me a bad risk. Funny how they never ask what happens when a man runs out of chances. I know my sins belong to me, I won't put every blame outside, but when the world keeps closing doors, don't act surprised when men sleep outside. Yeah. They say get sober, get a job, get your life back on the track. Good advice from a man who never had to lose his home. They say just work harder, I say harder for what? When the rent takes everything before the paycheck gets warm. They judge the Bible, they judge the scars, they never ask who sold the bottle or who built the bars. A broken man still owns his choices, but a broken system owns its share. You can blame the man for falling, just don't pretend nobody pushed him there. I won't call myself a victim, I won't call myself clean. I'm just tired of hearing answers from people who never lived the question. Whiskey, dust, and bad decisions, 3 shadows riding next to me. I've paid for every road I've taken, still some roads won't set me free. Whiskey, dust, and bad decisions, I won't blame the world for all I've done, but don't pretend the road was equal when some men started miles ahead. Maybe I can leave the whiskey, maybe I can change the road. Maybe carrying my failures doesn't mean I have to carry them forever. I can't undo yesterday, I Can't rewrite what I broke, but I can wake up tomorrow and make one better choice. Whiskey dust and bad decisions, I know everyone by name. I won't hide behind my history, and I won't let it be my fate. Whiskey dust and bad decisions, tonight I leave one behind. The bottle stays beneath the porch while I keep riding through the night. The road is still dirty, my hands are still scarred, but maybe a bad decision doesn't have to be the last one.